OK, let's have a quick look at the alternative Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. He delivered a major speech today, which was like his "I'm a economic conservative" moment. Remember Kevin Rudd?
A number of people have described me as an economic conservative. When it comes to public finance, it's a badge I wear with pride.
Yeah, well, Rudd turned out to be anything but an economic conservative, of course, but you get that in politics, don't you? In fact, the GFC and the pandemic seem to have pushed all the fiscal conservatives into hiding. Albanese today at least tried to reassure people that he would be sensible on the economy, that he had a plan. Now, this reminded me of something I wrote last year, and I'll show you why in just a moment. But last December, I wrote in The Australian that while he was naturally and ideologically a Whitlamite, if Albanese wanted to win the election, he shouldn't try to emulate Gough Whitlam, but rather channel Bob Hawke. My observation, couched as advice to Albo, said his lifelong political disposition would be to embark on a Whitlam-esque reform agenda, but he needs to act more like Hawke. I wrote that the salient point for Albanese and his team is not to embrace the revolutionary zeal of the Whitlam ascension. And talking about the China challenge, I said on this too, he'll need to draw more from Hawke than he does from Whitlam. Well, I mention this because the usual lefty backlash came my way. You know, what would you know? They said all the abuse online about you being a right-wing nut job spouting propaganda. You have to love this stuff. And of course, some of them kept proclaiming that it was Whitlam that they held the candle for. He was the man. Well, it was interesting to see this morning articles proclaiming that in his major speech, the opposition leader would be likening his approach to that of Bob Hawke and even John Howard, rather than Labor's revolutionary hero Gough Whitlam. And sure enough, listen to Albanese in his own words.
If Labor's successful in the coming federal election, I'll take my lead from Bob Hawke and his successor, Paul Keating. I'm not proposing a revolution.
Well said, Anthony Albanese. Nice to see he takes good advice, hey? The critical question, of course, is whether or not he can live up to his own words. There was much about his economic plan, actually, that made sense. But the focus on renewable energy is what undermines it. Energy price hikes have really hurt us and our manufacturing over the past decade or so. And if we add in more price increases and a lack of reliability, we're going to go backwards rather than forwards. And there was another angle from Albanese that worried me. It was his attempt to frame Scott Morrison as divisive.
Particularly under the current Prime Minister, their aim has been to sustain a sense of division that they have used to advance what is a very partisan political agenda.
Doesn't really ring true, does it? I mean, Morrison has been too accommodating rather than too divisive. In fact, Albo's attack sounds like a line lifted from Joe Biden. Of course, the charge of division he used against Donald Trump, when in fact it's been the left with their identity politics and their politics of envy that have fanned so much division. Biden won, of course, but it's been all downhill for him since then. Albanese has a long way to go just yet.